So she says to this woman, we need to do this $300 candle magic ritual. It's going to take a week. And the woman, because she's so afraid of her relationship breaking up, shells out the $300, takes the candle home, and then calls me on the phone here in Oakland. And she goes, Joseph, I feel weird. Something just happened today. I spent $300, this woman, blah, 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 and now I'm afraid she's going to curse me if I turn her in. And I said, I said, first of all, I can protect you more than she can curse you. Just so you know, no reason to be afraid. I said, second, you need to give me her name and address, because I'm turning her in to Laura Papard, who runs Psychic Reno Institute, and she's not going to be allowed at the fairs anymore. This is dishonest business practice. Appeal to fear is not an honest way for a good worker to work with others.
Sounds like she's on the dark side.
Well, she's on that side. If I can instill fear in you, you're more likely to open up your wallet.
So what do you do to protect her?
Well, I did a little spell of protection, which I know it sounds like magic, but white magic is done all the time, all over the world. Most people call it prayer. That's white magic. And so I did a prayer, white magic, protection around her. Then I did the stuff in the physical world you do. I contacted the fair promoter, which she's honest and ethical. So she took it from there, thank God. And everything was taken care of. So some people can be honestly psychic and just dishonest. I wish it was everyone was spiritual. That's why you have to use your own brain too.
So is your prayer more powerful than other people's prayer?
White magic is always more powerful than black magic. The thing is, if you believe you're a victim, you will push away white magic and you will open yourself to the dark side. So it has to do with the person's ability. So if the woman is going to be afraid and fear and hold on to fear and believe someone has the power to ruin her, guess what happens? Her belief becomes truth. But if she gets reinforced by others, which I reinforced her and reminded her she's powerful, she doesn't have to be afraid, and then that I was going to do something to help her, then she can change her energy from that negative energy to the positive side and go, I'm protected. Joseph helped me with white magic. He did a prayer for me. He did a candle protection for me. I don't have to be afraid. I can act courageously.
So all of our prayer is about equal, except when we get our own fears, desires, and junk in the way.
Yes. To sound a little political, for a president to get a nation involved in a war, he must create a situation that makes us afraid for our own safety and survival. And then we as a nation will open up our wallet and say, please take our money, provide us security. Don't let the bad guys get us.
Hitler used it too.
Hitler used it too.
Okay. All right. It seems one of the things that you're describing the path in our life, it seems the further you go down a path, the harder the spiritual lessons and the more alone we are to endure them. Is that the case?
That's a really great question. Without the help of others, without knowledge and enlightenment and tools, it can appear that way very much, very, very much, very difficult. What does happen though is things like this. Our skill level comes up in how we handle and perceive life. The challenges don't get less, they get more intense so that we have the challenge of exercising our new knowledge and ability. So the challenge comes up, we meet the challenge, and it recedes. Then later on, another challenge comes up, we've grown from the last one, we apply our new knowledge, and the challenge recedes again.
But sometimes it can feel pretty alone that you're having all these things happen and you feel there's nowhere to help, and drawing within can be rather difficult at that time.
That's a really great question. I would say on a planet with 6 billion people, it's a little hard to be alone. It's actually harder to be alone than it is to be engaged with others. There are so many people alive today that are of a higher spiritual vibration and able to help everyone else.
And how do we find them?
Well, spiritual centers are always a good place just in general. So a spiritual center would be like a church or synagogue. On the metaphysical side, you would look for in the phone book. You would say to, by the way, this is a sign of an honest psychic. By the way, you'd call like a spiritual teacher in your area and say, who are the good spiritual teachers in this area? Any honest psychic is going to tell you. They're going to say, go to Reunion Center in Walnut Creek. Berkeley Psychic Institute has a great program going, etc., etc. Dishonest psychics will say, there's nobody good here but me. I'm the only one. That's a sign of a dishonest psychic.
And it seems to be the sign of a somewhat biased healer if he says my healing modality is the only one, don't go to the others. Is that ignorance or greed?
It's ego, it's ignorance, it's greed, it's mostly fear that this healer per se would have, that they're actually not good. And so they try to make up for their fear that they're not a good healer by puffing it up into the biggest sense they possibly can.
Is that what the AMA does in our country?
The AMA loves to have a monopoly on medicine because, well, what they'll say is, we don't want the charlatans to hurt you. But if we look at the history of modern medicine, you have to ask which side of the fence the charlatans are actually on. Right now there's a bill that, thank God, has not been passed, but was introduced again, that would make it illegal for you to go into a health food store and buy a bottle of vitamin C, because it would be considered medicine. And so, well, at a certain dosage. And so for you to get that, you would have to get a doctor's prescription. Now see, to me that's all about money again. Yeah. You're going to have to pay us for the appointment, pay for the prescription, and you've got to know that if you are paying a prescription for vitamin C, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot different than if you're going into the health food store. There are some herbal remedies that are much better than medicinal remedies, but generally herbal stuff tends to be weaker in potency, generally, not always.
And it's great variability in the way they're made and the purities as well.
Yeah, so you want to have some sort of way to gauge that. Dr. Julia Ross's book called The Mood Cure talks about a study done by Libby where they took 3 natural herbs and they added it to people who were taking Prozac for depression. So they were taking their Prozac, they added the herbs, and they had a 600% increase in effectiveness in treating depression.
Which herbs were those?
DLPA, 5-HTP, and DHEA. But you'd want to read the whole book because if you have like hyperthyroidism or other conditions, you want to take a different kind of herb set.
Okay.
So it's not just a cure-all. And also you need to experiment with the dosage because some people will get headaches because of the DHEA.
Well, speaking of the scientific community, and since you have a scientific bent and want to know why and prove it, have you proven it to yourself scientifically, or is it an experiential thing that's going to only be perceived in the right brain?
Well, I'll tell you, I like to see things in the real world. And so Dr. D'Adamo's book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, I thought, okay, I'm a type O. I'm going to conduct an experiment. I'm going to eat for my blood type for 2 months as best I possibly can. And then on the day after 2 months, I'm going to eat everything that's on my do not eat list. Because if this book is full of crap, or if it just doesn't apply to me, I should notice no difference. So that's what I did. 2 months, ate everything according to my blood type, the best I could.
And what happened?
Well, the day after 2 months, I ate all the food on my do not eat list. I felt anxious, then lethargic, then up, then down, then sick, and then like I broke out in a sweat. And then I thought maybe I was getting sick, like I had the flu. And I went, oh my goodness, there is something to this.
And how did you feel on his diet?
Well, following Dr. D'Adamo's book with other things that I'm doing, like exercise, and I did have gastric bypass surgery, but it doesn't cure you, but it does help you a lot. I've lost over 160 pounds. So for me, I'm real happy.
Are you still on the type O diet?
Oh yeah, sure. Now I'm not perfect. because I still like chocolate once in a
I
while.
noticed some fudge over there in the corner.
But
Good
I'm
fudge, by the
generally
way.
good. Thank you. I'm generally pretty good with my food, generally.
Okay, so you've got the scientific bent. Have you, is this some of the stuff like a right brain activity that you cannot prove with the left brain? How can this be proven so our very scientific type will say, yeah, that's proven, or will it never happen?
John Edwards and Joel Martin, two very good psychics with others, were tested in a university environment by friendly researchers.
Was that at Duke?
I forget where it was, but all the details I forget exactly. But it was on TV. They were showing the results of the study. And the reason I say friendly researcher is because we're talking about subtle energies. And can you imagine, you're a psychic person. It's already difficult to be in a clinical environment because you have other people's energies so focused on you and what you're doing, it can mess with the signal of what you're trying to get.
And can your desire that you do well interfere as well?
Your ego comes up and you don't want to be not good. And and you know that it's a fragile thing that you're doing anyway and you're trying your best. So what they did find in this, and the nice thing is the researchers were psychic friendly. And so they had a room that was warm and inviting, and they had someone who wanted to be read by the psychic. Rather than a researcher going, okay, you just try to read me, those people are so hard to read. So they had someone who wanted to be read. They had a good environment. They had input by the psychics on what would help them, but still had it clinical. And what they found was that the best psychics in the world, when tested, are at best only 85% accurate. And the reason being is that the information still has to come through the person, the psychic person. And so the person's prejudices, interpretations, thoughts, history, education level are going to affect the message as it comes through. And so that's why it happens that way. They felt that the psychics were psychic, that they tested, and that each of them had a different kind of specialty ability. No one psychic was the Walmart of psychic ability. Some were a little better with one way, some were a little better with people who had passed over, some were a little better in future predictions. They're all a little bit different. To me, when I saw that, it said, well, what else do you expect, Until we can develop physical devices that can actually detect the subtle energies that are being explored, we're going to have to do it the best way we can, Until they developed the X-ray, it was very hard to see the bones in the body without cutting you open. Until they develop machines that can view and monitor and record the subtle energies of psychic people, we got to do it the best way we can.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where we have these machines?
We're already partially there, because we can detect alpha states, beta states, and other kind of states through the mind, and we do that. They attach all those little probes to your head.
EEG, yes.
Yeah. And so we can tell that what they do know as psychics so far is that a psychic person will stay conscious and put themselves into an alpha state going toward a beta state, but not fall asleep.
Richard Bartlett says that he gets most of his information from the gamma state, which is a deeper state yet. What is your opinion on that?
I actually haven't heard of Richard Bartlett before. I think it's really possible for human beings to put themselves into altered states in really incredible ways. And Buddhist monks tend to be the people who have that going for them in a big way. They can sit out in the snow, in the cold, and by the force of their own will and ability to meditate, they will melt an area around them of about 3 feet. It's really incredible. Or someone who isn't practiced will go out there and turn into an ice cube. Just the opposite will happen. Or they'll do another experiment they did with Buddhist monks, where they have them just in their, they're not in anything like down or thermal underwear or anything. They're just in like a sheet. And then they put wet towels on them. and the temperature is really, really cold. And then within an hour, the monks have raised their body temperature to make the towels produce steam on their bodies. And they do other things like that. They consciously lower their heart rate or control their heart rate. They consciously do all these things that are monitorable now. And the psychic state is like that, but the energies are so subtle, it's still hard for machines to detect them.
What is your opinion on energy healing?
Energy healing, they had that famous study about prayer, remember?
Yes.
And they said, prayer helps. What a shock.
But then they had follow-up studies that were equivocal.
Yes. This is what my healer friends have said about like prayer or about energy healing. They would say 30% of the people that come to them for healings actually do not want healings. So they'll say 30% of the people that come, they're unable to help heal because the person does not want it.
Do they know they don't want it?
It's like, it would be like this. Your family and friends say, you need to heal, you need to get better, you need to be healthy. And they say, I'm getting a big payoff by being sick.
But this is an unconscious level.
Unconscious level. I have people taking care of me. I have people assisting me, giving me attention. I'm not getting well. No way, I'm getting a big payoff here. But my family wants me to go see a healer. So here I go. So go ahead, heal me. Just try it. Just try it. But they are so resistant to it. The healer's unable to perform through that block, which is natural because, we are self-determined, not predetermined. We can't force our energetic will onto another.
Well, there could be other blocks as well, such as, oh, this isn't going to work for me. Oh, my luck is so bad, this won't work. We have other blocks that we're not even aware of, I imagine.
Yes. Usually those kind of blocks hide a surface thought, a more deep thought that is more fearful than just I have bad luck. Usually that's the one they'll recognize on the surface, but there's a deeper motivation.
Where do you picture yourself being in 10 years from now?
Actually, I think I'm going to have a number of other projects being published. I already have my second one being considered right now. I see myself on television for some degree or another. I'm not sure why, but that's been given to me as a picture.
Teaching or reading?
I think that it's going to be in a very accessible kind of show. To me, it feels like it's going to be specialized. And so it's not going to be on ABC or NBC, but it might be on the Sci-Fi Channel, or it might be on Logo Channel, or one of those other ones.
This would be a regular show?
It'd be like a regular show. Yeah. What I've seen is actually me doing like house readings and house busting readings and traveling, but having it also be fun. Because my personal belief is the psychic realm is not a scary realm. It's a natural realm. It's like sunshine. It's just omnipresent. At least in the daytime, it's omnipresent. Well, actually, it's omnipresent just if you're facing it or not. The earth is facing or in the shadow. And that I'd like to bring a lightness to it. I know right now, there's still, the people on TV who are doing psychic work are all channeling the dead. And that's a fine way to be. It's appropriate for the development of the United States at this time. Well, that's where people they want to know about death, and there's fear behind it, and they're curious, and they have people who've died. But the energy isn't light. It's much, much more intense, in my opinion. And the people who are doing the work are gifted. John Edwards, James Van Prague, Joel Martin, Sylvia Brown, Shar Margolis. They're all amazing. And I'm going to block her name. She's on the Lifetime channel now. Do you remember her?
Yes, you had a picture of yourself with her.
I have a picture with her, and I'm totally blocking the name. But all these people are doing a great job, and they're right in tune with where the general American public is. And I would love to bring that to a higher, funner level, so people can see being psychic is not hooga-booga or in the dark or scary, or you have to burn a $300 candle. You can be psychic. You can be in touch. You can exercise those intuitions and have it be joyful, full of life, full of love.
How will this help the planet?
Whenever you can alleviate fear energy in a population, everything gets better. And I'm not saying I can do it for the whole population. I have my little tiny part to play somewhere in this mess, just like we all do. Hopefully with all of us alleviating fear, raising the consciousness, creating a new reality. Eckhart Tolle right now is working with Oprah Winfrey in a 10-part series that's being played on the internet, and she's promoting it, of course, on her show, from his book called A New Earth. Is that the one key that's going to change everything? No. However, it's a wonderful step in the right direction. And Oprah's committed big money, big time, and big resources to help this happen. So she's doing it in a big, huge way because she's Oprah Winfrey. The rest of us can help pick up a bucket and do our part too.
Well, on TV, you can do it in a huge way.
Yeah, in a much bigger way. Much bigger way. Just a little bit of trivia with that Eckhart Tolle thing. Before her first program, she said on TV, because they film in advance of the air date. So she said, we have 167,000 people signed up for this workshop. And I thought, oh, that's good. Well, the day of the workshop, 500,000 people went on the internet to join, which totally overloaded their system. And then the next day, another 700,000 downloaded the program. Now we're like 1 million too. The second week, over 2 million. The third week, I don't think she released the numbers yet, but it's huge, the people who are putting their time and effort to be involved in raising their own consciousness. It's fantastic.
Great. Do you think that will help our country?
It has to. It has to. We're entering the Aquarian age now, which is the feminine age. So for all the women who are watching this, the ball's getting in your court real soon. We're looking for you guys to do a better job than us guys did. However, because we're entering the feminine age, you're going to see men, really some powerful bad men, be at their worst because they don't want to let go. They don't even know it consciously.
It's not like is there an Antichrist? Or many?
Well, that's a good question, because I believe the future is changeable or mutable depending on where our consciousness is and what we create. So like Daniel Brinkley, I don't like to put out the negative side of the future because I don't want to help create the negative side. I want to help create the positive side. And Daniel's predictions at first, he gave some pretty dire predictions, and a lot of them have come true so far. More will be coming true. So is there going to be an Antichrist? Yeah, I think so. Is there going to be like an anti-pope? Not this one, not the next one, but is there going to be like a devil pope? Oh yeah, that's coming too. Is there going to be more trouble in organized religion and the state and people grabbing power and money? And is America going to be part of that mess? Yeah, we were the good guys for a while here in America, but not so much anymore. Other parts of the world have taken huge leads in being humanitarian and taking care of their own populace.
What parts of the world would that be?
Well, if I were going to use one as a classic example, I'd say Norway's doing pretty darn good. Pretty darn good indeed. We could take their lead. We could learn from them. And I'll just say this real quick, and then I'll stop being so political.
I think the film ran out anyway.
Oh, okay.
But maybe not.
The people, when they interviewed them in Norway, said, we kind of figured out we could spend money killing each other or spend money saving each other. We chose to spend the money to save each other.
So what do we do in this country with all these people on welfare and illegal aliens and all these people that want to be taken care of, and it's not that many people working carrying the load?
All we would have to do is stop spending money on killing, and everything else would solve itself.
All these people on welfare?
Well, I'm not saying that the programs do not need adjustment or refinement. I think that's true. However, the biggest impetus is where we're spending money. Are we going to spend money on guns or on butter? Where are we going to spend the money? And that's going to make the biggest difference.
Okay. Thank you very much for sitting with us at this point.
You're welcome.